Adjust your shorts. And welcome to the news program that knows nothing except for how to swing a mean kick at the dick. My name's Ray Stone, and this is Adjust Your Shorts. Today is May 27th. It is morning time. I'm not going to tell you what time exactly it is. That's not important. You don't need to know my schedule. We're just doing the news, guys. And how do I get my news? Well, the internet. I Google it. And then I look at what Google wants me to think about all the things that all the other guys want me to think about. And then I Google some more stuff. But really, I just go to those websites and look up what is going on out there. And I'll tell you what, today is Tuesday. So we got a short week. Yesterday was Memorial Day. And anytime you have a short week, you're going to see a banger of a Tuesday. So let's get into it. First up, NPR and Colorado public radio stations sue Trump White House. This is something that has been going on. NPR and 3 Colorado public radio stations filed suit Tuesday morning in federal court against Trump's White House over the president's executive order that purportedly bars the use of congressionally appropriated funds for NPR and PBS. Now, here's the thing that I'm taking a little bit of an issue with. If you are a publicly funded entity, it is my opinion that you should be forced to remain neutral and not have a political bent or skew, which is clear and evident in both cases, towards either political party. Now, I have been mainly a left-leaning, middle-of-the-road guy. Back when I was younger, the word liberal didn't mean blue hair Karen who's going to take my mask off on a plane to yell at you to put your mask back on, because that's what a liberal means now. When I was a kid, it meant you didn't want to ascribe yourself to either side, and you wanted to try to say I'm in the middle and I'm going to just do what I think is the best fit for both sides. I'm a very median kind of person. I don't think either side is correct, especially when you start saying, oh, I believe this and I'm on this side. Then you're indoctrinated and you start to say everything and anything that comes out of that camp is correct, and everything and anything that comes out of the other camp is incorrect. So I just think that they should be challenged. I like NPR, but I notice NPR is very Democratic leaning. And if you're publicly funded, you don't get to lean one way or the other. You have to report it up and down, straight up the middle. And if you're not doing it, I would expect to be challenged by any political group that is in charge if you're going against what they want. All right, let's stick with NPR. Corporate America's retreat from DEI has eliminated thousands of jobs. This is NPR. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, because if you look at the basics of DEI, the dangerous part of DEI from the perspective of anybody using their brain, but mainly from the right, of course, is that what DEI can do is force a lesser qualified individual into a role while ignoring a more qualified individual simply because of their physical conditions. Physical conditions being race, ethnicity. I guess that's really just it. It's all about, and gender, ethnicity and gender. But if you have a lineup of people, and I've run companies, if you have a lineup of people, if you put, let's say you put anyone who doesn't know what they're talking about and they're applying for a plumber's job, but they're not a plumber. But my brother is a licensed plumber, and I'm hiring either my brother, the licensed plumber, or someone I don't know that isn't qualified for the job just because they have a gender application that says I'm supposed to hire them. Guess what? I'm not hiring them. I'm going to hire the plumber. And I think that's what DEI really does in the long run, is it removes your, it takes away from the meritocracy of earning the top seat. Now, I understand that the top seat is almost always earned by a white guy because the white guy is quote unquote more qualified for the position. I don't think that's always the case. So, baked in, there is a level of prejudice or what do you call it? Well, whatever you want to call it, it's prejudice. And oftentimes the white gets the bet where I think there just needs to be maybe instead of having a DEI inclusion thing, because now there were some interesting parts of this article. Candace Birdsong Williams has filled the front room of her sunlit North Carolina home. Okay. This is the woman that was running for business advice. Hang on. I was hoping that was going to be my next role prior to the current political climate. That role being the Chief Diversity Officer. Now, Chief Diversity Officer. But this argument isn't one that I'm going to win, and it isn't one that you're going to win. Chief Diversity Officer. We shouldn't be forced into diversity if the merits are lacking. We should be held accountable for, say, I do think there should be a channel to, like, let's say a black guy loses out on a job to a lesser qualified white individual. If it's for a publicly traded company, there should be an avenue for some type of a lawsuit, legal action to take place. And I bet you that there is, if you were so willing to go down that road. But I don't think that it should be forced that you, instead of hiring, that you feel pressured to go the diversity route when there are qualified candidates on both, other qualified candidates. And that made me look up. I Googled this. Did NPR or PBS report on the mental decline of Biden during his term? Because, as we know on this show, what I like to try to do is think in the cracks. I want to try to get into what I think is not being said or is sort of being hidden, because the thing that I have absolutely figured out that I think is 100% true, and I think nobody will disagree with me on this, is that the internet and the people running the internet intentionally hide and censor information. So I searched this in 3 different ways, and what happened is, you'll see right up here, it says an AI overview is not available for this search. And that was the same answer that I got 3 different times when I Googled it in 3 different ways. Did NPR report on the mental decline of Biden during his presidency? An AI overview is not available for this search. What does that tell me? That tells me Google, you fucks, are steering your AI to not answer questions like this. And that's why we got the flamethrower out, because this shit is torched. I need to put a little animation where this thing, the flame comes out of it. I'll work on that. Okay, moving on. Let's get into Fox News. By the way, I, over the history of my life, absolutely cannot stand Fox News because they are so right-leaning and they're such douches. But credibility crisis. White House reporters speak out on whether Biden's mental decline was deliberately hidden. This is what made me search that other search, because it clearly is in the news. He now has stage 4 cancer, which means he's known about the stages of cancer. It is very possible. So I've known quite a few older fellas that go through cancer treatment, and the cancer treatment is responsible for severe mental decline in a lot of cases. And I would be willing to bet a big stack of money, somebody else's money, of course, that this fella Joe Biden right here probably took some cancer meds and probably suffered a severe mental decline, and that's what we were looking at. I had a joke where, like, Joe Biden was proof that cryo sleep is real, where you freeze them to death, and then every 3 to 6 weeks you wake them up, put some sunglasses on him, tell him he's the president, and send him out on stage. And that one got a pretty good laugh. But I'll bet you about the time I was writing that joke a year and a half ago, it was as a result of me watching him try to deal with the mental fog of what was most likely a cancer medication, is my guess. But that's not here nor there. What they're looking at is did reporters speak out? Oh no! So was his cabinet intentionally hiding evidence of his mental decline? And it looks like, for everything that we see, it looks like yes, absolutely they were. I mean, they were holding him by the hand for the whole presidency almost. They had to guide him from place to place because he didn't even know what side of the stage to exit on. And then they tried to, if you remember, they tried to hide it behind a stuttering complex. And they tried to like bring in children who stutter. Do you remember this dog and pony bullshit? They tried to bring in stuttering children, blame everyone for condemning stuttering children because Joe Biden had a stutter that he had to work years to get over. But it turns out he was fucking sick and dying and shouldn't have been running the goddamn country. All right, tell us how you really feel. Okay, BBC, why is King Charles in Canada and what is the throne speech? Well, the throne speech is Tuesday's address would traditionally be given by the Governor General, who is the monarch's top representative, or the monarch themselves. And the article basically says the reason why the king is giving this speech from the king's seat in Canada, right up next door, is a direct result of our Mr. Presidente saying over and over, we want calling Canada the 51st state. So turn on your flamethrowers because they don't want to be a part. They're not interested in selling. Neither is Greenland, neither is Panama, neither is Mexico. None of that shit is real. It's all horse shit. And it was probably just a distraction so that they could mine the oceans. All right, moving on to the Independent. Let's say not now to that. Donald Trump grows angrier as Vladimir Putin exposes his impotence. Not exposing his own impotence, like Kim Jong Oops did the other day, where he accidentally spilled a 5,000-ton battle destroyer in his bay on a failed attempt launch. If you didn't see that, whoo-wee, that is 10 million tons of steel that they've got to try to figure out how to right it. So Trump exposes, whoa, that was funny. It just clipped to an image of what's her nuts. That's so crazy. Okay, so as Washington settled in for a typically sleepy memorial following the passage of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, he did anything but take the day off. What he did was come out and say, this is Trump about Vladimir Putin. He's needlessly killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers. Missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. Somebody else has always been saying that as well, and that'd be me. And maybe that's proven to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia, is what he said. And shortly following this speech, I don't know if it was connected or not, but Germany, in the AP, Germany's MERS said there are no more range restrictions on the weapons supplied to Ukraine. That is from Germany. Now, Germany just joined the U.S. and I believe it's London, England, in lifting its distance restraints. If you remember, we did that probably 6 months ago or maybe even a year ago. It's a little while that, no, it was this year for sure, probably around the beginning of the year that we lifted the restraints that we had been, so we've been shipping them drones and missiles that have long-range restraints, and we lifted those restraints. And now Germany has finally joined the other major allies in saying, yep, okay, you can fire deep into Moscow. And of course, the response from Moscow is, take it easy, mucho take it easy, that's dangerous. And it's like, you know what? Somebody should probably fight him. unfortunately, he's not going to stop. He's not going to negotiate. He wants what he wants. This is totalitarian, this is dictatorship, and this is war. And when you have war, you get fucking hit back. I mean, I've never ever picked a fight and then been surprised when I got punched in the face. I think that the threat of the nuclear all-out war is insane. But then also, we do have a little bit of evidence that kind of points to an idea that the aliens will interfere if we start trying to arm our nukes. So you know what? Let's fuck him up, I say. I mean, the dude, I don't even know if it's actually Putin. So one thing that I was thinking about over the weekend when I saw these things is, you remember in a year plus ago, in 2023, he was sick, or 2022, he had cancer. And they were treating him for cancer. And he looked very sickly. And now we've got a different guy who looks a lot like Putin, but also has a bunch of cheek filler and stuff in his face. And so I did a little comparison of the side-by-side images, which you might want to do. It's kind of fun, of him before and him now. And it's like, why would he put cheek filler and get plastic surgery this late in life? He doesn't need to. There's absolutely no reason, unless maybe he's a double. Is Putin a double? This is the viral video you've all been waiting for. We're cracking down on it right here on Adjust Your Shorts. Is Putin actually a double? And you know what? Let's say he is, just for shits and tits. All right, moving on. New York Times. This is Kim Jong Oops. How North Korea botched the launch of a 5,000-ton warship. Whoopsie daisy. Well, what happened was, first of all, I believe this destroyer is too large to do a sideways launch, which is what they were doing. So if you look at the two images, follow my cursor. This ship, this is the nose, this is the stern. What do you call it? The bow and the stern. And it was supposed to launch horizontally into the water, tip over, and right back up. But what happened was the nose of it hung up. And I think probably what really happened, this barge was supposed to stabilize it as it floated in. I'm guessing that this barge, since it's now still attached, probably didn't move at the same speed that it was supposed to. Probably had some propellers running on it, and so the back end swung in while the front end probably didn't swing in as fast, and then it got hung up on the dock of the bay, like Otis Redding said. And now everybody's sitting at the dock of the bay watching millions of dollars sink away. Kim Jong Oops, that's my favorite. Okay. Back to the BBC. Why police released details so quickly about Liverpool crash suspect. The reason is so that the internet can't get ahead of it, spread misinformation, which is what it does every time. Now, what's crazy is this is a latency effect. Whenever something terrible happens, the news has to cover their asses. The government has to cover their asses by not speaking too soon, not releasing the names of people, all this stuff. And it's for safety of the people involved. But now, because the internet reacts so quickly and reacts by falsifying information and portraying it as real information, and then people believe that information, and then by the time the government actually releases the details, it's too late because everyone believes the bullshit, the deep fakes, the things that aren't true. This is something that really concerns me. As I've been watching a little more TikTok, I have started watching less TikTok and swiping a lot and then fact checking and then finding that the things aren't true. With a world full of AI, you can deep fake anyone with only a few words. I would love to see myself deep faked and saying stuff that's just absolutely stuff I didn't say. I was listening to Rogan talk about it last week, where he said, yeah, stuff happens all the time where he's like, I didn't say that. But they have his voice, they have his face, they have his name, image, likeness, which he can sue for, but it happens so often, he would be stuck in lawsuits. He would be embroiled in lawsuits, let's call it. So anyway, I guess there was a big crash in Liverpool over the weekend, and some people got smushed up by a dude, and they're not releasing details on anything. They're just saying At this time, they don't suspect terrorism, which is kind of crazy because it doesn't give them actually time to figure out if they suspect terrorism or not, because the internet would get in there and say it's terrorism before they even have time to fucking look into it. All right, moving on. ABC, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, the Puffy Combs. Sean Diddy Puffy Combs. Scary part is there was a time when I was teaching snowboarding, right when he became Sean John. He had a clothing line, Sean John. And they hosted an event that I was actually a part of, and I was super bummed because I didn't get one of the free jackets. They like let a bunch of us in, and I was the last in the back of the line, and they had just run out of the jackets. But man, am I glad, because I think if you wear a Sean John coat, you get pee-diddled. This says petrified former assistant testifies about alleged threats, and it says. Capricorn Clark, former Sean Combs' assistant, Capricorn Clark, testified that work was not yet complete on the then new corporate headquarters of Bad Boy Entertainment in New York when she was allegedly taken there in 2004 by a bodyguard named Uncle Paulie. Clark told the court that she was taken to the dilapidated 6th floor, which she said was empty except for a folding table and chairs in the middle of the space. There was a heavyset gentleman who was chain smoking cigarettes, and Clark basically was petrified. She told the court, bodyguard told her that she, quote, had been brought to the building to take a lie detector to figure out what happened to some jewelry that had gone missing. So if you tried to steal from him or went against him, basically he would just threaten the shit out of you. Let's see what this new update is. Combs' ex-assistant testifies threatened to kill Kid Cudi. He was discussing with us why he didn't have a man like him. What? He was discussing with us why we didn't have a man like him, Clark testified. Let me show you something. Then he called for Cassie Ventura. He called Cassie over and asked her to sit down, stand up, turn around, turn the other way, walk right there, grab that, hand me that, walk back, turn around. Did you see that? You bitch, you won't do that. That's why you don't have a man. Okay, what the fuck? This guy is absolutely insane. This is what happens when you put a megalomaniac in charge of way too much money. All right, let's move on. NBC News. I just kind of left up the headlines I wanted to show this. The main headline in NBC News was CDC ends COVID vaccine recommendation for healthy kids and pregnant women. And this is as Robert F. Kennedy basically is getting in there and mixing things up. There's no reason why we should be giving this vaccine to anyone. It was a fucking cold. It was a really bad cold, and it affected a lot of people. But one thing that I did during COVID, and you're going to hate me for this, is I looked up, because they kept trying to say COVID mortality, all-cause mortality. So what I did was I just looked up overall mortality rates, where they were the previous years and where they were during the COVID years. And guess what? Zero change. Mortality was the same as it had ever been. Nothing was affected. They just attributed all of these deaths. My mother was in the hospital with cancer during COVID. I bet you $100 they blame her death on cancer, even though on COVID, even though I've never looked it up. But I do think it's good that healthy kids and pregnant women should not be getting this crazy vaccine because you just don't need it. If you're healthy, it's just a coronavirus. If you're ill, you might be in trouble. I had it. I have an immunosuppressant. I've got hyperthyroid, Graves' disease. And so I got really, really sick. But this is right before they named it. I started getting better when they came up with the name for it. But I was traveling, and then I got sick, and it was bad. I mean, I was sick for like 6 weeks solid, but it took me a solid 3 months before I was totally, totally better. But it was a solid month and a half of, fuck, I'm done. I'm really struggling. But at no point did I feel like I was going to die. It's just what it is. This is interesting. Putin and Trump agree on a prisoner exchange, Russia says. So this on the heels of Trump coming out and saying he's all mad at Pooty Poot. And, oh, by the way, here are the fillers. This is the fillers that I'm talking about with old Putin. look at his face. I'm not sure if it's the same guy or if they just found a guy with the same hair. I mean, there are doppelgangers for everybody, and everybody has doubles. So this guy has cheek filler for sure, and the guy who was sick a couple years ago did not. All right, moving on. In CBS News, once again, this is RFK dropping COVID vaccine guidance for kids. NPR sues. This is all kind of a repeat of the other people. And now let's just scooch right on over to the good news. Good news, one cool thing that I saw, Soul Space. NBA Warriors host unique sneaker repair clinic teaching youths how to refresh old kicks. Now this is kind of cool, I guess. It's like, don't throw shoes away. Like, let's refresh them by heating them up. It looks like she got a little heat gun there, and you can bring the color back. But this made me Google something that I saw recently, which was how many articles of clothing are created every minute. There are approximately 190,000 articles of clothing produced per minute. So on the one hand, yes, repairing some old shoes is good. But on the other hand, number two, there's new shoes. So you don't have to repair those. All right, getting back into the good news. Let's just scroll the topics here. I saw a couple things that were interesting. GNN, Good News Network, writer Andy Korbli to speak in Switzerland this June at the Future of Humanity conference. What was funny is the reason I included this, his talk is entitled, quote, "To travel is to live intentionally, comma. To travel intentionally is to live transcendentally." And it's like, dude, you know what? He's a writer, but he doesn't know how to edit that shit down. Leave it at the first sentence. To travel is to live intentionally. To travel intentionally is to live transcendentally? That's just a horseshit statement, and you can go fuck yourself, Good News. Why'd you put that in there? Let's see here. Young adults joining offline clubs across Europe to replace screen time with real time. This is fantastic. I was listening to a Rogan interview. I can't remember, but it was recent, this past week. A comedian that's been around forever who has never had a cell phone in his life, which may or may not be true, but he claims it's true. And what was interesting is before I learned this, in his speech patterns, I was like thinking to myself, why is this so familiar? And why do I like the way he's speaking? And then when it came out that he has never had a cell phone, it hit me that like maybe it's because his speech has not been transformed by texting and by the constant influx of information in your pocket, just directly on hand. It's got to influence us. And there was something very refreshing about it. I mean, I know every time I leave home without my phone, I am so happy. And I am always considering just turning my cell phone into a home phone. The issue is I like listening to podcasts when I'm doing dumb handyman work that I can do with one hand tied behind my back. I need something to keep me busy while I'm doing a very unchallenging project. So, am I going to leave it behind? No. So there you go. I'm hooked. Let's see. A stranger delivered CPR for 20 minutes to a Montreal man and then vanished. Okay. This is one. Trees synchronize their bioelectrical signals during solar eclipses. And the article goes on to try to say that trees are talking to each other, which may be the case. Or the part that kills me about these kinds of articles is there's a big or in there. Or maybe the trees all respond the same way to their new set of circumstances. Fuck! Because they're the same fucking tree. Why are we're just always trying to ascribe these anthropomorphic practicalities to things that may or may not be acting anthropomorphically. Big word of the day. Okay. What else did I see in it? A diver found a Navy ship's bell after 80 years. All right. That's pretty cool. And James Webb Telescope reveals new details and mysteries hidden in Jupiter's own northern lights. So they're finding new cool stuff. And by the way, these images that we see, as I understand it, this is a virtual rendition of data that is being collected and not actual images. But we'll have to Google that and fact check myself for next week because we're out of time. This has been the news. My name's Ray, and I hope you have a great Tuesday, and we will talk to you on Thursday. Bye.